Ms. Napolitano with questions, comments?
Both. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Maloney, could you, in a few short sentences, tell me what the intent of the bill is?
It's to protect lands that are owned by the American people, federal lands, and preserve them for the natural habitat, for the caribou, the grizzlies, the deer, the natural habitat for the animal life, and to preserve the foliage and the plant life. And it respects the water rights of states. It's written into the bill that states' water rights are respected. I think that's a core important point. We found one thing we agree on, Denny.
Thank you. I just want to get to the chase on this one. Anywhere in your bill, does it allow for any public development?
Not in the wilderness area. On private land, certainly. On private land, you have guaranteed access, and you can do whatever you want on your land.
Is this possibly an issue that is a divisive issue, that this federal land is not going to be allowed to be developed for future, how would I say, entrepreneurship of communities or of businesses? Is this why some of this opposition has come up? Is there something in the background we don't know about?
Federal land is owned by the American taxpayer. I assume the federal government, if they wanted to, could take it and sell it to individuals for development. That could happen. That's one thing that we want to do, is to preserve it. We want to preserve it, and it's important not only for the wildlife and the habitat and to have the natural corridors. It's important to protect the water, and to protect the beauty of it, and to protect the naturalness of it.
In the past, and sitting in some of the committee and subcommittee hearings, there's a point been brought up that the federal government owns more property than almost anybody else, and essentially unable to keep, how would I say, management, upkeep, infrastructure, etc. Well, I've always been of, and this is a personal comment, that if we hadn't spent as much money in Iraq, we'd be able to have some funds to be able to have agencies' budgets not cut and be able to carry out their full function. And that's my personal opinion. I guess maybe I can go back to Title 16 issue of $7 million being allocated for this year's budget with $500 million in backlog, already approved congressional bills. So that's a personal comment. But there's always two sides to an issue, and you are apparently willing to sit and look at input or comments or possible amendments that will help be able to ameliorate some of the concerns.
I believe that process would be very helpful going forward, and certainly any changes that my good friends and colleagues have raised, if they would put it forward in an amendment form, so we could continue, so we could debate it and discuss it and move forward.
So, Mr. Rayberg, what say ye?
I'm not sure there's enough time in all of our congressional terms
Try.
to fix this bill.
Try. You're not willing to give, you're not willing to input, you're not willing to work?
Well, let me answer your question about development of federal properties. This is already owned by us. This is already controlled by the United States Congress and the Forest Service, the executive branch. And so what's wrong with allowing an opportunity for the land to be managed under the existing form with opportunities for access? You know, we briefly talked about the infirm. I mean, unless you're an able-bodied young person that has the ability to access this property, what you're essentially doing is setting it aside for multiple use management. You're taking out the management skills, opportunities, knowledge, and education of the land managers that we in fact hire. So I don't mean to be derogatory nor insulting to our federal land managers, but I think this kind of legislation is. Because it's suggesting a hands-off approach. Where Ms. Lummis was heading is the fact that if a forest fire starts on this property now, you can't fight it. If the toxic weeds get out of control, you can't go in and spray it. And so you're taking away much of the management opportunities of our property.
Danny, I kind of beg to differ on some of those issues, because I am subcommittee chair of Water and Power, and I'm looking at the ability for forests to talk to Bureau of Land Management to talk to others to be able to allow to go in and do some of the cutting of the brush so that there is less opportunity for wildfires. But anyway,
Not on wilderness property.
this is federal property. Thank you, Mr. Chair.